And we are recording. I'm Todd. I'm here tonight with Joe Causey, a Marine, fellow military man, spent 30 years in the Marine Corps. And we've just been getting to know each other, sitting back, chit chatting a little bit before I turn the recorder on. So I'm going to let Joe tell us a little bit about himself. We were talking a little bit about the Army and the Marines. And he's going to tell us a little bit about when he was a Marine recruit.
So like I said, I was just clearly as I see you sitting there. I was sitting on the quarterdeck when I was a recruit, and my drill instructors marched out, and I told myself at that moment, I'm going to do that. I wanted to be a drill instructor, and to to be a drill instructor, there was requirements and all these. I got done with recruit training, and I was trying to go be a drill instructor, and my MOS would not let me go because we were short. And just so happened that the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps came down one day and was talking to all the Marines like they do. And I waited till after his speech and everything, and he had a little huddle of Marines around him. And I told him my dilemma, Sergeant Major Lee, and he looked at me, Sergeant, ain't much I can do for you. And I said, instead of accepting the answer, I was like, so you mean to tell me you're the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, and you can't get me a sergeant right here from this air station on Beaufort, South Carolina, right over there to Paris Island to be a drill instructor? Is that what you're telling me? He kind of smirked and he handed me a piece of paper. He said, write your name and social on this, and I'll see what I can do for you. And 3 days later, Master Sergeant Valley pulled me in the office and said, hey, knucklehead, you got orders at Paris Island. That
So
was
what?
my first.
So what was your MOS, Joe?
I started out with aircraft support equipment, an electrician and refrigeration on support equipment. But that only carried me through gunnery sergeant and two tours as a drill instructor and martial arts instructor trainer and a whole list of things. And then I got selected for the regular warrant officer program where I became a CBRN officer, which is long name, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear defense. And that, as a brand new warrant officer, lands you in the infantry. So I spent basically my last 14 years in the Marine Corps in the infantry.
I
And we're
saw
the
you
only
were.
only two warrant officers in the infantry battalion, and only a handful of us in the regiment. Right on down the line. So, and I retired in 2021 Chief Warrant Officer 4.
Yeah, you CW4. I was going to tell you, I missed you at PT this morning.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
That was always the joke. We could never find the warrant officer. He was never there.
Right.
He was never there. The Army's got a rank called specialist.
Yes, yes.
Um, and I got a certificate around here somewhere where I got promoted to it's out of camera range where I got promoted to specialist. I framed it and hung it up too, because specialist, that is the ultimate shammer in the Army. And it's also the guy that when you're short something and you got a company layout or something, that's the person that you go to and say, hey, I need a canteen, I need this, I need that. And somehow they make it appear out of nowhere. Now the guy over in Charlie Company might be missing a couple of things, but your guys are squared away. But I always said that a CW4 had a specialist beat on being able to miss formation and disappear. Man, they were ghosts.
Uh, that was not my experience. That is not how it worked out for me. And my final one of the final things I did, I was at the division level and a platoon commander, and I had a whole bunch of Marines, and I was, all the Marines that were in all the battalions were touched by me in some way, and it was not like that at all.
I hear you. Well, we had one in the Army. I still don't know what he looked like. I knew his name was on the roster, and that's about all I knew about the man. I never met him. In like 2 years at Fort Bragg, I never put eyes on him. Or if I did, I didn't know I was looking at. So you spent your last 14 years in the infantry?
Yes, yes. And yeah, specifically all the infantry. At all the levels. All the way from battalion, regiment, the division, and the MF.
Well, I got to do a little bit of all of my MOS. Like I say, I was intel, and I got a chance to to work the strategic side of it. You know, the the fun stuff that they make movies about. Well, it ain't like that. I mean, it's um, months of boredom surrounded by seconds of excitement. But I got a chance to do that, and then I got a chance to work the tactical side of it when I went to Fort Bragg with a stopover at Fort Benning for a little training at Airborne Infantry School. Do you know what intel is when you're assigned to a tactical unit? You are
Maybe what the Army calls it.
you're educated infantry.
Okay.
I got to Fort Bragg. I got to Fort Bragg and went to the battalion to sign in, and the battalion sergeant major walked out and looked at me. Walked over, looked at my uniform. He said, "Son, where's your jump wings at?" I said, "I have not been to airborne school, sergeant major." He said, "You might want to go, because when we deploy, you're going with me, and when I jump out of that airplane, you're coming with me. And you might want to know how to work that parachute before I put it on you and shove you out the door." He said, "Down at Fort Benning, here, sign this paper." He was waiting for me. He said, "Sign this paper volunteering to go to jump school." I said, "Yes, sir, major." So,
Voluntold.
got voluntold. That's right, voluntold.
Yeah.
So, so you showed me some nice deer that you got on camera. I'm gonna see if I can finagle them up on the screen. No, they're not showing up for me. But you had um, several big nice deer up on camera. You
Hold on. Here's one. Is that showing up?
Sorta, yeah, there we go. That's him. That's one of them. That big old body deer, big nice rack, big body deer. Now, are these coastal deer, Joe?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. South Carolina deer.
They're South Carolina deer. Yeah, that's a nice buck.
But I told you, we're on 26 members on 11,000 acres. But that's only part of the story. The rest of the story is that's just our part. There's another 17,000 acres contiguous that we're part of. And it makes the whole plantation 30,000 acres.
I got a similar setup. We got 10,000 acres and about 30 members on it. And then there's another side that's 15,000 acres with about 40 people. And then we own or lease most of the farmland that's around the club, which brings it up to a little over 30,000 acres. We're sitting on a pretty big piece of land too. And I found that usually when you've got people that are actually got some skin in the game, because it takes a little bit to operate, 10, 11, 12,000 acre club. You don't just hop up on opening day and run out and say, "I'm going to go hunting." You got stuff you got to do. Am I right?
My deer season started January 1st.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it cost $160,000 for the lease.
I get it. Like I say, right there with you. The what I found is the person that you usually have a problem with is somebody's trying to hunt a postage stamp. And what I mean by postage stamp, somebody's got a little small piece of property, and they're either trying to still hunt it, or they're trying to run dogs on it. And the people trying to run dogs on a little tiny piece of property are just, they're wrong. There's no other way to put it. They're just wrong. You can't turn a pack of walkers out on 10 acres and expect them to stay on it. I did a investigation a few years back where that a guy had 10 acres and it was all field. There wasn't a tree on it. It was it was open field. And they were turning 18 or 20 walkers loose in that field. They were turning loose on their property. But the total block was about 800 acres. And nobody else in the block wanted to hunt with dogs. But they really didn't have a choice when these guys were there because the dogs were everywhere. And they just went out and surrounded the block and hunted it like it was theirs. And they were wrong. And I'll tell them to their face that they were wrong. So I'm in a member of an organization that's called Eastern Carolina Houndsman Alliance, and we were active in we were active in getting the Landowner Protection Act passed in North Carolina, and we were active in trying to get another law passed that would rein in some of these renegades, like I just discussed. The Landowner Protection Act addresses it some. You're not allowed to turn loose dogs on property you don't control. Well, they were skirting that by they had a 10-acre field, a 10-acre wide open field. It would be beautiful for bird hunting, but it ain't good for running. It'd be all right for deer hunting if you wanted to set up some stands in the back of it, but it ain't for running dogs on. I mean, you got to use some common sense. But we were working on trying to get a bill passed to rein in some of those renegades, and this has been about, I don't know, probably about 13 years ago now. And we worked with the state, and we had meetings. I've got pictures of me with senators and a couple of wildlife resource commissioners. We had several big meetings, and we had the law all written out, ready to go. And when it came time for them to submit it, they came up with some other law that we had something. There wasn't one word in that bill that we wrote, not one word. And we had to oppose that bill because it wasn't, what they proposed wasn't right. So we fought them tooth and nail. We defeated them on it. And the person that submitted the bill was not reelected. And we haven't had a similar fight since. This year they came up with some stuff where they were trying to make it illegal to even launch a boat from the side of the road. And that, I don't even see why anybody would sit down and try and write that down. If you can access a public waterway from public right-of-way, you ought to be able to throw a canoe in there, a kayak or something if you want to. That makes sense.
Well, I know how South Carolina does things for the most part, and it's got to go through the General Assembly. It's got to end up on the governor's desk, and it's got to become law, and or it's not enforceable.
Yeah, same here. And it didn't make it that far. I mean, it didn't make it out of committee. It died in committee.
So I don't know if you're familiar with Wee Lake. It's an oxbow off of the Santee River. The Forestry Commission put up a bunch of rules on it, and for a lot of years people followed it, but it wasn't a law. And they tried to enforce it, and it did not work.
Yeah, that's right. So I said all that to say this. I'm not an outlaw, and I really don't care for outlaw hunters. I really don't. A lot of times I see things, and I do try and look at things with an open mind. You said you were with the infantry for 14 years. Well, I did investigations. I did investigations on a global scale. You know, we looked for terrorists and all kinds of stuff. But I did investigations, and I learned to look at the evidence and don't rule things out. And usually the most simple answer is the best. Occam's razor. You know what I'm talking about with Occam's razor. So I tend to look at things with more of an open mind. Now, the people that were turning them 20-some dogs loose in that 10-acre open field, dead wrong. Okay? But sometimes you might find a dog that's out where it shouldn't be, and the owner don't know where it is. It happens. You don't need to jump automatically to this person automatically turn this dog loose on me. The videos that I showed you, I sent you this afternoon and said, hey, have you watched these? They're actually videos of a guy that's trained the dogs, and he went out and turned a whole pack of dogs loose on a deer back in May. And they set up with the cameras to film it. And the dogs ran that deer for a little over an hour. And they got positioned. You did see that one? They got positioned. They got positioned up.
Stopped him with a whistle.
Stopped him with a whistle. That's right. That's from training. Well, the other video, the one that was about 15 minutes that went with that, that was the steps to get to that point. And he had a dog in that pack that he had only worked with one time. And that dog came with the pack when he whistled for the pack. So he said that you could take the dog at around 10 months or so, when you're getting ready to start running them, work with them 20 minutes a day for 4 days. He said, and I can stop them with a whistle. So I'm going to try it. I got a puppy and I'm going to try it myself. We're going to find out. I'm going to do exactly what he said, and I'm going to find out this puppy will do what he said. What do you think about that? I'm all for people keeping their dogs where they're supposed to be. If your neighbor went to where he could stop the dogs with the whistle, you think that'd make you happy?
For the most part, yes, because you only got parcels where that 30,000 acres we talked about up front that's where I hunt now and find peace. But I'm a landowner that's butted up against another 14,000 acres that there's no dog hunting allowed, and then my own property gets dog problems constantly, and the problems don't come from right on top of me because I'm part of 14,000 contiguous acres that doesn't do it. They come from 8 and 10 miles away.
8 and 10 miles away. Now, are the people actively hunting during that time? Do these dogs have tracking collars on them from 8 to 10 miles away?
And the more frustrating part about it is I catch the dogs or multiple dogs, and I call the name on the collar. I've had this happen to me 4 times. Call the name on the collar, no answer. I leave a voicemail. I call again, leave a voicemail. Send them a text, nothing. Then I send them a text. You don't call me back in 5 minutes. Your mutts are going to the pound. Ring. He's got consequences coming down on him, and he's coming to get his dogs now. 4 times in a row that's happened to me. I'm like, so they were going to finish their hunt and do what they wanted to do before they cared for the dogs. And it's blatantly obvious. And I'm like, man. And then, my trail cameras don't lie to me. So his dogs went all through my property, and then I don't see a deer for 3 to 5 days because they stunk up the woods. They don't get that kind of pressure here.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I've participated in some studies with wildlife agencies, and dogs running through the property don't run the deer off. They don't. I'll circle back to that. I want to address what else you said there about the guy not answering the phone. If you call me when I'm out in the woods, I might or might not answer because I might not have service. But if I do get a message from somebody that says, "Hey, I got your dog," I'm on my way to get that dog, and I'm telling that person thank you. It does sound like to me that they ignored, based on what you just said, it sounds like they ignored you until there was consequences. I get that.
Well, and then when they got here, they didn't care that I had their dog and I was their pet motel. They just wanted their dog back and left, and I'm like, well, thank you too. Thanks. I'm glad I kept them for you. they didn't. I got other stories too of conflicts that just blew my mind, and they just didn't have any care about it.
So bottom line, they disrespected you.
Well, the worst one was I was going deer hunting. I had me and my buddy in the truck. He retired master guns from Marsac, and I'm pulling out of my own driveway. Well, I say driveway, it's about a half mile to the highway. And I come around a 90-degree turn of my road, and here comes this truck in front of me, and he stops in the middle of my road. As soon as now I can't go anywhere. There's only one lane gravel road that I paid $20,000 for the rocks on this stinking thing. And he stops on my road and in front of me about 15 yards and opens the door. Immediately my Glock is in my lap, and my buddy's got his rifle in his lap ready to go. Because I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what's going on. I did hear a dog running just out on the edge of my property as I was heading out. And we were going to another place 20 miles away to deer hunt. And he gets out of his truck and he kind of walks in front of the truck and over to my side. And he, probably from the looks on our faces, he probably knew to kind of keep a little bit of distance because we both seen some stuff, and he was not going to have a good day. Anyhow, it took. He said it. I said, "Can we help you?" And he said it twice, and I could not understand him. And the third time, I had to get a little force with him. I was like, "You need to speak in clear sentences and with coherent words, so I can understand what you're trying to tell me." And finally, on the third time, wasn't much better, but I was able to understand that his dogs had dug under his fence and gotten out. I'm like, okay, now he didn't know it because I'm pondering the situation and I'm thinking, well, at least I'm like ready to help the guy, you know. And the direction his dogs was going to my neighbor's place that has 3,000 acres. I didn't ask, but if I had to make a logical assumption, my neighbor was probably his employer because he was worried about his dogs getting on his land. And I was like, oh, well, never mind my land. And now I'm mad at you now. And you legally blocked me on my right of way, and you're not a police officer. Boy, you better get out of here right now. And I run him off, you know, and I couldn't. Because he done like committed the ultimate disrespect before he even said a word. And I'm like, you gonna stop in the middle of my road and block me from leaving my own property? Oh no, I ain't have. I have all those kind of problems. But he didn't know he had done it. He only smart enough to know that.
Yeah, I've seen some of that too. I've actually had it happen to me. I had an old woman. Here I am calling somebody old woman. I'm gray headed myself. I had an old woman stop in the middle of the road in front of me and stop me and tell me I couldn't hunt where I was at. And it was my property. It was my property. But she had the roadblock. I've got the videos online. You can watch it. It's on the page. You can watch the video. She's there blowing the horn, telling me to get out of the road. And her daughter, who was about my age, got out and walked up to my truck window and started telling me about they weren't allowed to hunt around there. And I was like, where are we not allowed to hunt? And she couldn't answer me that. But I've had somebody do almost exactly the same thing to me. I get your frustration. I just assumed that the lady didn't know any better. And I told her that we drive on the right side of the road where I'm from. And if she would pull to the right, she could drive past
I
me.
did see that video.
And I could drive past her. Yeah, that happened to me. So I get it. You know, we all have our interesting situations. But what you've just told me is people straight out just disrespecting you, and I get that.
Well, it's a little more acute than that too, because it compounds with things. And what I mean with that is, on top of the dog hunters, then I got to deal with people and their pets. That's a point of frustration. And on top of that, a mile away from me, straight out south of me, is a coyote pen. And 5 to 6 days a week, I got to hear constant, never stop yapping, yapping, yapping. And yes, I was here before them. and they put the coyote pen on leased land. And it's like, I can't get away from dogs hollering, and I just don't want to. That's why the place I'm finally at now, I can sit in my stand, and there's no way I'm going to ever hear that, and that's where I can get peace.
So,
hear it.
So you're telling me that the dog's barking bothers you?
No, it's not. They're not barking. They're burning up coyotes.
They're
not even breathing. Okay.
I got you. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, okay?
Well, let me get this out first, though.
Go ahead.
I understand that, but I can't tell you how many times I've been in my own deer stand at my own place, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching several deer. I'm watching my live decoys and I'm waiting on Big Boy to come out, and those dogs start up a mile away in that pen, and they don't tolerate it either. They just walk off. I watched them do it 100 times, 1,000 times. So that's frustrating.
That's why we call it hunting. That's why we call it hunting and not killing, right, Joe? So I got a question for you about the you saying you don't like hearing the dogs bark in the pen, or flat out burning up a coyote. You're all about property rights, right?
Well, as far as let me get this out of the way first. As far as dog hunting goes, the only thing that I really want to side with you guys about is, I have my land and I want to do what I want to do, and you have your land, you do what you want to do. The impasse is them getting over on me. That's it.
Well, I showed you a video today I showed you a video today about some folks that are trying to make that stop, where they can stop the dogs.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people interested in that video since it's been posted. And I've only posted a couple of little snippets of it. We got the whole training situation. You're going to see those come out. Day 1, do this. Day 2, do this. The whole thing's going to come out. It's going to be a step by step. And hopefully it'll help some people. Now I'm going to go back to that land rights thing. Those people with that coyote pen, have they got the right to use that land the way they want to?
As long as he leases it, I'm imagine he does.
So,
I'm not complaining about that he's doing. He's. I ain't saying he don't have the right to do it. I still don't like to hear it all the time. It's not like during deer season. It's year round, daily.
yeah, I get that. You know, when I lived out in San Antonio, uh, there were multiple airports in San Antonio, and there were planes landing all the time. I heard airplanes all the time. I'm gonna tell you a little story about Kinston, North Carolina, and the Kinston drag strip.
I saw that one on the podcast.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, the people upset about them racing cars. So, if we're gonna want people to let us use our property the way we want it, we gotta also allow other people to do their thing. Now, I think you got something going on there where you got 30,000 acres that you can get in the middle of and still hunt. On our club's so big, they can be running dogs on my club, and I can go get on part of the club and can't hear the dogs. So, I mean, I understand how big a property you're talking about, and that's
45 square miles.
yeah. We had a big hunt. It was December. It was the first week of December. I think it was 2017 or 2018. We had a whole bunch of people come, and we hunted the whole club at one time with dogs. So pretty much everybody just got somewhere and stopped and stayed there all day. And we had a couple people that were running around handling the dogs. But we hunted the entire club. That's like hunting the whole county. And that was something you really can't do anymore because there's not really enough land to do it. But we've got enough to do it. And it was really fun and really interesting. I got a picture that's up on my page that's got a line of trucks down both sides of this dirt road as far as you can see. And all people had done online for ever since Thanksgiving was say, "Are you seeing any movement? Are you seeing any movement? Are you seeing any movement?" So I put a caption on my picture that said, "Something's getting ready to get up and move." And it did, and we took a bunch of deer that day. But we stayed on our property. We did.
I believe you.
So if you what I'm saying is you kind of got to put up with the fox pen or the coyote pen, I guess.
Yeah,
either that or ask them they want to buy it.
I'm just saying it added to my frustration, and because of, I don't get peace from it. But in the same guys as the fox pen are the same ones, dogs that end up on my property during deer season. The same guys.
And they're from 8 or 10 miles away.
Well, their club for deer is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying there. And you know these people.
Some of them do, yes. Some of them I don't know. Like a couple of them I called to get the dogs. I didn't know them until they come to get the dog. One of them last year, I knew him well.
I'd probably have a conversation the same way I'm having a conversation with you.
We did.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything to offer. He's not a smart guy like you in that way. He was just like, he just wanted to make small talk. And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I'm like, you're 10 miles away, and then here I got your dogs. They got tracking collars on them. And It took me forever to get you on the phone.
And this is South Carolina, right?
Yes, it is.
So the Renegade Act, they've pretty much stopped enforcing part of that about dogs at large. That was an option that you had at one point, and they're not enforcing it anymore. I feel like there should be. Well, I've said it before, and I'm sure you've heard me say it before. If your dog gets away from you once in a great while, it's a mistake, and we really shouldn't punish a mistake. Cooler heads should be able to prevail. We should be able to say, I'm sorry, and everybody walk away and everybody be peaceful. But that doesn't work if it happens every Saturday. If every time you turn your dog loose, it gets away from you, that's not a mistake. That's a habit. That's a
Well,
that's a decision that you made. That's not a mistake. You decided to let that happen. And there should be consequences for that. There should be.
it doesn't happen every Saturday, but it happens often enough to be frustrating. And then, we're men, we're not women, so men tend to build things up until they come to a you know a time of when it erupts. That's what we do.
Well, I used to tell people, don't don't run around mad at everybody. Get your frustration out ever how you will, because you might run up with somebody and get an ass whooping that wasn't meant for you, or worse. I mean,
Or
there's
worse.
people every day that wind up going to jail that aren't criminals and didn't have any intention on being in the situation they were in, but they made choices and put themselves in that situation. So I try to I try and think about what my end game is. I guess I play checkers instead of chess. I mean, I play chess instead of checkers, and I try and think about what my end game is instead of what my immediate response is. You probably heard me quote religion a few times. Um, just about every religion on the planet will tell you to you can go on and get mad if you want to. The Bible puts it as be quick to anger, but be slow to wrath. In other words, think about your response before you do it. Another religion from some Near Eastern is you can't stop the arrow from hitting you. If somebody shoots you with an arrow, it's going to hit you, right? But you can control the way you react to it.
Some of it's probably me, in that I'm gonna tell you right now, a 30-year divorce with the Marine Corps is hard, and I spent an entire career teaching young men and women that you can't have the privileges of adulthood with only the moral responsibilities and requirements of a child. And so when I get running,
Say that again. You are absolutely right.
I spent an entire career teaching young men and women that you cannot have the privileges of adulthood with the moral responsibilities and requirements of a child. And so when I run into these people, and I mean, you just don't shake off this military stuff that you had. You did things with a purpose and a vision, and everything was the way it was supposed to be. And if the plan failed or was failing, you found a way to make it right. And so when I run into some of these people, and they're just so nonchalant, and it just still blows me away, man. It really does. I like I don't have words for it. It's just inexplicable to me how they just go through life and whatever.
I got a question for you. Do you find yourself when you go to Lowe's or somewhere like that? Do you find yourself parking your truck or your car and kind of making sure it lines up with the car next to you? Do you try and get it dressed when you park?
I still back in from combat, so if I got to leave, I'm leaving in a hurry.
I do too. I backed in today, as a matter of fact. Yep. I still back in, and I still find myself wanting to line that car up just right, or line that truck up just right.
No, it can't be. No, you can't be crooked. No, no, we don't do that. It's be covered in a line. There is not, I mean, look at those pounds of powder on that shelf back there.
Well, you see my Mandalorian sign over here is hanging a little crooked right now, and it's bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
If
It's
I'd have seen
bothering
it,
you.
if I'd have seen it before I sat down to do this, I'd have straightened it up. But it'll just have to be crooked for right now. But yeah, I trust me, I understand. I understand exactly what you're talking about.
And I'm not a transplant or anything. I'm from South Carolina. Grew up in South Carolina, and I've retired in South Carolina. Now I spent a lot in the Marine Corps. Sent me all over the world, but I came home, and I spent a lot of years in the military, close to home, so I could come home on weekends during deer season and hunt. I didn't miss that much, if that makes sense.
So where were you stationed at?
So that's because I was aircraft support equipment when I started. I spent basically my first 9 years in Buford, so I was not far from. I was an hour and a half away from home. So uh, I went to the air station, then crossed the street to Paris Island, and back to the air station, and then I uh, went off to Iraq in the Persian Gulf. Come back from there, and I ended up going straight to Iwakuni, Japan for 3 years with a wife and my daughters. Came back from there straight to drill instructor duty again, but I was in Pensacola, Florida. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Officer and a Gentleman, the movie with Lou Gossett.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's actually a YouTube video. Go look it up. The real OCS, and Master Garnson Foshi does a lot of the narrating on it. But me and all the other drill instructors at the time were in that movie, where the original film crew came down. They were shutting down a Pensacola, OCS Pensacola, and BRAC moving it, base realignment closure to Newport, Rhode Island, and I was there for that. And they got us all on video and a kind of a documentary of, you know, what OCS was.
Well, man, that's pretty neat. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna share with you one of my TV moments. I've got two. Um, I was stationed in Monterey, California, and I had my head in the clouds, walking down the sidewalk, happy as I could be, going to the post office. I got my mail at a civilian post office in town, and I'm going to the post office as happy as I can be. And no, I don't know what I was thinking about, but I wasn't really paying attention to my surroundings because I walked right through the middle of a movie set and ran into Tom Hanks and nearly knocked him down. They were filming a film there about a dog. I don't remember what the name of it was. Maybe it was Milo and Me or something like that.
Turner and Hooch.
Turner and Hooch. That's it. Turner and Hooch. Well, I ran right into Tom Hanks and nearly knocked him down. And when I realized what I had done, I look around and I see the cameras and everything else, and I see the guy with the clipboard that's all kinds of mad. He's big mad, yelling cut and get off my set and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I just want to check my mail. So that was one of my big movie times. The other big movie time is San Antonio, Texas, the Riverwalk. There's this big fancy hotel that's on the Riverwalk, and it's got a fancy dining area. It's not just a cafeteria. It's a huge like ballroom thing, but they serve lunch there. So I'm an extra in Knight Rider 2000. I'm one of the soldiers in dress uniform that's in that ballroom eating lunch that day. And that's what we were paid that day, is we got a steak lunch. But I'm one of the soldiers in my dress uniform in that thing. And Mike Hasselhoff comes running in with that movie gun they were using, and they had a big shootout scene, and we're all in there eating our steak. And if you ever watch it, start looking around on it, and you'll see a group of soldiers sitting at a table, and they just keep eating. They're not, they're running around shooting at everybody, and we're just sitting there eating our steak, and we're like, okay, whatever. That would be us.
Well, that's kind of how we are. Whenever it's chaotic and you're in the middle of something really bad, you're just calm. But when something little, an undisciplined thing gets in your way, you're upset. Like the truck not going right into the parking spot.
That's right. It'll get on your nerves.
Yeah.
So Should should we ban things that we don't like?
Well, that's. I think it's something more than that. It's like Josh said with Crossroads, with dog hunting. They touched on a lot of the things that are frustrations of landowners and things like that. But they didn't really hit all the facts of things. Like there's a significant portion of land just being gone, right? From when you're like, I talked about I told you, Mount Pleasant used to be two stoplights, McDonald's, Kmart, and then a couple of grocery stores. And that triangle from the Wando River all the way to Mount Pleasant between Highway 17 and 41, which is massive, was a deer hunting paradise. I killed my first deer out of a deer stand over there, an old doe, in 1986. There's nothing there now except houses and people and businesses and hospitals and stores. And along 526, Daniels Island, Sumter, all unrecognizable from 30 years ago. All that land's gone. It's gone to everybody for hunting. So then we're getting squeezed tighter and tighter together. So this is where, the dogs getting on other people's land becomes more frustrating. So I feel like that if you look across all 9 states that still allow dog hunting, the common theme and problem is dog hunters getting on other people's land. And that's the major complaint that you see in any
But what
article
about
you read.
what about the ones that aren't?
So my hope is that dog hunters will start come up with solutions instead of just trying to keep it with nothing. Like South Carolina has nothing, like nothing. There's no, you can. It just says go do as you please, right? There's nothing there. There's nothing codified in law that you guys have gotten together with and come up. You say you tried one time, but there's still nothing there. And
We
what I
actually
think,
we actually got one. We got the Landowner Protection Act. We got that done,
is that
and we
North
tried to
Carolina or
improve.
South Carolina?
That's North Carolina. We tried to improve on it, and that didn't work. But we did get the one done. Alabama, the guy that did the training video, Alabama's got some stricter laws than North Carolina or South Carolina. If your dog gets on somebody else's property in Alabama, you can get a ticket. Florida's got some serious laws. Did you see the kid that got arrested for not having the right collars on his dogs?
You sent me an article and I read it. I didn't
Well,
really know.
I've got some more information about it since then.
Right.
And I knew there was more to the story. Don't get me wrong. I knew there was more there. He has a couple of felony charges for felony trespassing. He has a couple of trespassing charges, and he has the dog collar charge. But he was arrested for the dog collar charge and booked into jail and given a $150 bond on it. But he was hog hunting. He didn't have the correct collars on his dogs, and he wasn't where he's supposed to be. And he's charged for it, charged criminally. So I don't know exactly what the Florida law is, but I do know he was outside of it. He wasn't supposed to be on the agricultural land that he was on, and that's where the felony trespassing charges are coming from. So, and I got no problem with that. I got no problem with him being charged with those laws. I got no problem with him being arrested for not having the right dog collar. If the law is you got to have your name, address, and telephone number on your collar, which is what Florida law says, you got to have your name, address, and telephone number. If that's what the law says, then you put it on your collar. If you got to have 2 of those little brass tags on your collar to hold it all, you put 2 brass tags on there. But if that's the law, that's the law. If the law says you don't go on if you can't go in the cornfield when the corn's planted, you don't go in the cornfield when the corn's planted. It's not that difficult. If you're not supposed to be on your neighbor's property, don't go on your neighbor's property. I've never understood the mentality of, well, let my dog run over on my neighbor's property. If I can't go over there and hunt, why do I want my dog over there? Which I don't turn loose 20 or 30 dogs. My family does. We my hunting club is a family club. Most of us are related. There's several days that we go out there that everybody on the club it either traces back to my grandmother or is married to somebody that traces back to my grandmother. So we're all family. Um, we've got some friends, but a lot of times it's all family that's out there. So we tend to be able to get along. We've been getting along the whole time we've been alive. But we've got a neighbor that doesn't want us over on their property. Lady's got a little goat pen. And we endeavor to keep those dogs away from her. We don't hunt that part of the club. We don't turn dogs loose on that part of the club. And if a dog does get across on us, across our road, still on our property, where they're heading towards the lady with the goat pen, we're trying to cut that dog off, stop that dog, bring that dog back. We don't want them over there. We don't want that conflict. We don't seek it. We don't want it. And I don't understand the mentality that you're telling me about the guys are 8 or 10 miles from you and their dog's winding up at your house. That's
all the time.
That's unreal. I know a tracking collar will not track that far. So have you ever seen the way the tracking collars work?
I never had any interest in it.
Never had any interest in them?
Well, I know they can track on their phones with an app and all that. I didn't know they had range. And if it's a GPS collar, you think the GPS would be able to see them anywhere.
Well, I think the battery's dead on it. It hadn't been plugged in for a while. Let me see if it'll come on. No, it's not coming on. This is a screen, tracking collar screen. So the way the GPS collars work is they get a GPS signal from the satellite, but that signal is receive only. It doesn't transmit back to the satellite. So it receives the GPS signal from the GPS satellites, and then it transmits it back out to the handheld unit or to this screen like I just showed you. This mounts in my truck, but I've got a handheld unit as well. It sends the signal from the collar on the dog back to the handheld unit with a VHF signal. And that signal's good for 2 or 3 miles, 4 miles maybe, depending on how good of receive antenna you got on your truck. It's line of sight, that's right. And the absolute best you're going to get out of VHF sitting on the ground is 12 miles. That's just math. Because the curvature of the earth, if I'm standing on flat land and you're standing on flat land and we're talking on a radio and we don't have it way up in the air on a tower or on an airplane or something, that signal is going to hit the earth at 12 miles. So it's not going to track further than 12 miles unless you got an antenna, a tower to put your antenna on. But it's usually good for 2 or 3 miles. I've seen them go 4 miles with a really good receive antenna, but that's about the max of it. So if you're 8 or 10 miles away from the club, that dog's been running a while, or they're hunting where they're not supposed to. One of the two. Or maybe they have land you don't know about.
Well, the last one, that particular guy knew him. I don't think he wasn't hunting where he wasn't supposed to. His dogs just got out and were where they weren't supposed to. I don't know how those dogs got that far, and they did it in an hour and a half.
I was going to say, we found one this year in Clayton, North Carolina, that originated down near the South Carolina border. So that dog had made it 3/4 of the way through North Carolina and well on its way to Virginia.
Well, I agree with you. Mistakes shouldn't be punished. But at the same time, going back to, nothing's codified in that if the mistake does come a problem, I don't really have any recourse to do anything about it other than still just give them their dog back and tell them to leave. And they know that, and they just keep doing it. That's the frustrating part about it. So the hope is maybe dog owners will come up with solutions instead of just I'm gonna dump my box.
Yeah, that's kind of bad. And what you said there, I understand your frustration. I can't do anything about it. And it's a shame that people take advantage of people like that. The
Well,
situation that you said where the dogs had dug out of his pen and were over there at your house, that's a bad situation for everybody. I bet you that dog did not have a tracking collar on. He was probably riding the road listening for his dog barking.
yeah,
So um, that's one of those mistakes. But you would hope that the dog wouldn't get out every other day, too. I've had mine get out. I've had mine, they didn't dig out. I've had mine take their teeth and rip a hole in a chain link fence so they can get out. You get a
it's a tough
female in
dog.
heat.
I got hogs that can't do that.
If you get a female in heat, they go absolutely crazy and rip a hole in a chain link fence. My male dogs, I have reinforced their pens with hog wire, welded hog wire. They can't rip through that. Let me rephrase that. When I say they will never do something, they'll go out there and they'll do it just to spite me. They haven't ripped through it yet.
Never before.
They'll never like they've nevered before. That's right. That's exactly right. I have people in my comment section sometimes they'll say, well, they'll say something about they're going to harm a dog if it comes on their property and this, that, and the other. And they're sitting there with a profile picture of them posing with their dog. And I'll say, well, what if your dog got out? Would you want somebody to treat your dog the way you're threatening to treat somebody else? Well, my dog would never do that.
I did have a dog that would a long time ago that would never do that because she was a little miniature pinscher and she never left. She literally never left the yard in 18 years. And then we said we was gonna never get another dog again, and I was happy with that. But my wife went and got one. We got a golden doodle now, and that retard stays on a leash. He's not getting that. He will run across the county if I let him off that leash, and it ain't gonna happen. And he's not my friend yet. I don't like him.
Well, I got a little beagle. His name's Bo. And I got Bo when he was 3 weeks old. I bottle fed him a little bit, and I fed him a little soft food. But I've taken care of Bo since he was, like I say, 3 weeks old. He was a little teeny tiny puppy. I could put him in my pocket. Bo thinks he is my child. And Bo stays at my heel. If I walk, he's going with me. I opened the door the other day and went outside. He followed me out to the truck, followed me back in the house. And I went back out to the truck, and he didn't realize I'd gone back outside. So I went out to the truck this time, and I was going to put him in the truck, and we were going to leave and go. And I kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting. And Bo didn't show up. I said, surely that little rascal ain't run off. So I walked back over to the house and walked back up to the door. And he's standing there at the open door looking at me like, I'm not going out there. You. And then he saw me and started wagging his tail and ran to me. I won't say that Bo will not run off. He hadn't yet. But the female comes in heat. He is a male dog. I don't know what he might do. But I would never say that he would never do anything. And I try not to deal in absolutes ever, because my mother always told me that talking is catching. When you say you're never going to do something, a lot of times you wind up having to eat crow. So I don't ever say that I try not to say that I will never do anything. There's a couple of things that I will never do willingly. I'm not going to repeat them right this second. But there's a handful of things that I will never do willingly. There's a bunch of things that I don't want to do, but I may wind up doing them. But you see where I'm going with that, right? Never say never.
Well, going back to what Josh was saying, I'd rather see dog hunters come up with a solution than to have the state force their solution on you. When more land disappears and we end up, 15, 20 years from now, that problem is not going away. And that problem is just the needs of humans outweigh the needs of dog hunters. You know what I mean? And you could say, well, other hunting's going to go away too. Yeah, it probably will, but it's going to be 100 years after yours because it's the accepted norm everywhere right now.
Well, I'm old
I don't, I
enough to
don't,
remember. I'm old enough to remember that if you hunted with a dog in eastern North Carolina, if you hunted in eastern North Carolina, you hunted with a dog. I'm old enough to.
That's the only way people hunted when I was young.
I'm old enough to remember it. I'm old enough
Yeah,
to remember we couldn't find a deer. There weren't any deer.
well, you can blame Bill Jordan and Michael Waddell and Primos and all those guys for all the stand hunters now, from because that's when it started. You remember the videotapes, the VHSs, and all that.
Well, how do you think? What do you think about trail cameras and bait and stuff? What do you think about all that? Do you think that helps or hurts?
For just deer hunting or the
Yeah, for deer
situation
hunting.
between dog hunters and stand
No,
hunters?
just for deer hunting.
I think it depends on the area. And I mean area like state. So here in South Carolina, I don't think it makes any difference. And here's why. We have so many deer that if you wanted to kill baiting and stuff like that, well, good luck, insurance companies and state and everything, because now you're going to have to give us, you do 2 years of that, and you're going to have to give us 3 times the tags to beat the population back again, like we had to do from the 90s and after Hurricane Hugo until 2017 when we finally, the last state in the United States, got deer tags. It took that long to beat the population back.
What do you think about people? I'm gonna tell you, I took a deer last year that we had him on trail camera at one of the farms that we don't hunt. It's a hog farm. We don't hunt over there. But we got trail cameras over there because we keep up with where the deer are at. And we know it's him because he broke off one of his antlers. So we know it's the same deer. And I wound up taking him several miles from where we had him on trail camera at 4 o'clock that morning. So it was still on our property. It wasn't no big deal. But if it was one of them big boys like you got a picture of, and you got him on picture, you've been watching him since January. You said your season started January 1st. You've been watching him this whole time on camera. If he leaves on your neighbor's tailgate, you gonna feel some kind of way about it?
No, because again, it's us, and then we have what we call, the other part of the plantation, and it's either us or them's going to kill him, and we already know that. We already know. And by the way, we know how those deer are over there, and where he's at, he may that one the second one I showed you, he may shed the velvet on his antlers and stay right there. That might be his home. The first one I showed you, if I don't kill him the first 2 weeks, he sheds his antlers, he's going straight to the hill. He'll be gone. I won't see him again till December. And then in December he's pressured, and he's probably not coming out in the daylight.
Yeah, I hear you. I've seen some terrible arguments over somebody shooting somebody's deer.
Well, that's jealousy.
It's greed and jealousy.
So we killed the biggest buck we killed last year was 108.151 inches. And everybody was happy for the gentleman that killed him. Several other people had him on their camera. We know the deer walks to other people's stands, and they're far apart on that big place. And the place we're at has got some briars and thickness that deer can't even get through, and we think they use the roads at night to get around quick.
Well, they probably do. I saw a situation where it was a small club that I was in, a small club around 7,000 acres. That's a small club for me. But we had land leased on all 3 sides of this guy I'm going to talk about, his house. So we had the land on either side of his house and the land behind his house. The dogs were running the land behind his house. The deer came up on the land that we control. It wasn't in his yard at all anywhere. and one of the guys in the club took the deer. This guy came out of his house with a gun and was threatening to shoot the hunter because the hunter had taken his deer. I've been feeding that deer. I've been watching that deer. That's, you killed my deer. And he came out threatening to shoot him, which wasn't real smart because there was about 10 of us out there that, you know, and one of us is the deputy sheriff. So we took care of that fairly quickly. And nobody went to jail. So cooler heads prevailed. But somebody could have left in a box that day, and it'd have been justified. But, you know, cooler heads prevailed. We had a little talk with him. We had to explain to him that Timmy the deer wasn't his deer. It belonged to the state of North Carolina. It wasn't his deer until you put a tag on it. So I've seen some arguments like that. That's why I asked the question. I've seen people argue about trail cameras and bait piles and all kinds of stuff. I've seen people argue just to be arguing.
Trail cameras never helped me kill a deer. The only thing a trail camera has really done for me that I like, well, it's kind of addicting, kind of like social media, because you get the pictures that pop up, right? That, you know, but the only thing it's really done is help me get an inventory of what's there. And because the type of trophy club that I'm on is very restrictive what I can and can't shoot. The deer's got to be 5.5 years old. Well, I sent you the breakdown of it. You saw it.
Yeah, I saw it.
I just can't shoot. You know, like a normal South Carolina club has 8 points and 15 inches, right? No, not us. Not us. We shoot them by age, and that's a lot harder thing to do. And if you remember that chart, you get a strike. You get a mistake. You only get so many of them.
Well, we've got some rules. You can take a buck of any size. That's fine. One. But your next one's got to be a rack buck. He's got the fork above his ears. Preferably be a rack buck, but the bare minimum, he's got a fork above his ears. And you can take 2 does. And that's all you can take off the club. Now, we may have to go back and revisit that because we got so many deer right now, I swear there's one behind every tree.
So you can kill 4 deer
on our club, period.
Per member. But
And one bear.
What keeps you a little bit safe in that you only get 3 buck tags. Well, you're in North Carolina, so I don't know. In our state, you only get 3 buck tags with your base tag, and you can buy 2 more buck tags that are restricted antler tags. So I'm not speaking for North Carolina, but if you're a dog club in South Carolina, and Jethro already shot 3 any size bucks, and my question would be, now his 4th buck come across the road, and it doesn't meet the requirements of the restricted antler tag. What does the club do? Do they self-report to the game warden? I bet you they won't.
Well, mine would. And here's the interesting thing about my club. A bunch of our members will go all season and won't take a deer. I've got a first cousin that's a member of the club. I don't think he's taken a deer in 10 years. For us, it's not really about shooting the deer.
That's an unlucky fella.
He's not unlucky. He could take one if he wanted to.
He just waited for the right deer.
We really enjoy working with the dogs. We enjoy the fellowship and the camaraderie. There's a couple of different, there's many different types of people, and people tend to group up together. Google, for example, the search engine, they became popular because they started grouping their searches in flocks, like a flock of birds, because people tend to flock together. And if they see Todd and Joe are friends, and Joe's searching for reloading material, Todd's probably looking into reloading material too. So when
Don't do it. You don't save any money doing it. You'll spend 10 times more.
I got you. But when I search for something that might be reloading material or might be flip flops, you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Google's going to say, well, he's probably looking for reloading material because I'm in Joe's flock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Google does that, and we as humans do tend to join together and we join our own little tribe. Whether it's the red team in politics or the blue team in politics, or whatever little tribe we tend to associate with, we tend to join up together. Now, see, I'm getting into some of that military intelligence stuff, that psychology stuff. And because we tend to associate together, we participate in activities together that we enjoy. Now, Joe's telling me he enjoys getting in his stand and enjoying solitude. Well, I enjoy chasing down a deer like I'm chasing a criminal, or like I'm chasing a terrorist across 2 countries. We turn the dogs loose and we get in pursuit, and I don't care if I pull the trigger or not. I've got the adrenaline rush. I've had a good time. I can hunt an entire season and thoroughly enjoy myself and never pull the trigger. And I still hunt too. I have a bow. I got a Matthews bow hanging on the wall right over there. I'm looking at it. I bow hunt. I still hunt. I got a muzzle loader. I do all that stuff. And when I climb up the tree in my climbing stand, I get real picky about what I'm going to take. I've had deer that I know good and well I would have shot them in front of dogs, no question, no ifs, ands, or buts. Come and stand and camp out in front of my deer stand and me sit there and look at them. I just get real picky. I'm like, no, I'm not going to shoot that one. No, I'm not going to take that one either. I will say this. Any deer that you take with a bow is a trophy. I don't care if it's a half-grown yearling. If you stick it with a string and a stick, that's a trophy deer.
I killed a couple of deer in Rhode Island with a bow.
The other thing is killing one in front of dogs running wide open with a rifle. I found that the Marines can do that pretty good usually. Us old Army boys that flew around in helicopters a lot can do it pretty good. And these good old boys riding around these back roads in the Carolinas and Alabama and Mississippi and Florida, they can do it pretty good. But your average person can't hit a moving target with a rifle. They just can't. They've never trained on it. They've never experienced it. It's different. I got some boys that are going to come hunt with me in November. They've already got it scheduled when they're coming. They're like, what should I bring? They're coming from up around Rhode Island. I said, I'd bring my shotgun if I was you. You can bring a rifle. We might do some still hunting too. But when we're running dogs, you need to be shooting a shotgun unless you've got experience shooting at moving targets, because you ain't going to hit anything. It just ain't going to happen. A few years back, we got this guy that former Marine that I carried him hunting with us, and we carried him out. We were going to run dogs on a place that we still hunt. I put him in the best stand on the club. He had 2 major crossings right there where he was. And we turned the dogs loose, and it sounded like he had declared war on the deer back in there where he was. He called on the radio and he said, anybody out here shooting a 308? And none of us were. Believe it or not, I shoot a 223 or a 30-06. I go big or go small, either one. But that's my choice, is what I use. None of us had a 308. I said, have you shot up all your bullets already? He said, I sure have. I need I just got a weird text message. I'm sorry. He said, I shot up all my bullets. I said, well, you're in luck, because there's an outfitter right down the street, and they're good friends of mine. They'll bring them to you. So 308, what grain you need? I made a call and he brought. I said we're gonna get you about 3 boxes, and I said, or why don't you just let me bring you my shotgun? I'm not gonna use it. Why don't you let me bring it to you? And he took him 2 deer after I carried him a shotgun. He got 2 deer. So it's different, and if you've never done it, um, it's a different thing. So
I don't do it on deer these days. But between me and my buddy, well, I killed 60 of them myself since January. 60 hogs. We've killed 250 of them since January collectively. Killed a lot of hogs. I lost you. You're not.
I had it muted.
Um,
If I don't mute it, when you start talking, it takes the focus and puts us both in frame. And I like for you to have the whole frame when you're talking, so I mute it. The boy in Florida that got arrested for having the wrong collars on his dogs, he was hog hunting. That's what he was doing. I got a copy of the arrest report. He was hog hunting. I I love a good hog hunt.
well, the there's really no rules on hog hunting down here. You just got to register your property if you want to shoot them at night. With thermals and things like that. But mostly what we do is trapping. But going to the trap sometimes, and you know you're the only ones out there, and there's 10 hogs in the road, they're gonna get an AR-15 burning them up.
I hear you. Do you see
And
the
if we kill them, doesn't matter. You just gotta wound them so they die later. They're pests. They're like cockroaches, you know. And they reproduce like off of an Aliens movie or Prometheus or something like that. It's ridiculous.
the the Europeans when they were sailing to the Americas in the early trips, they brought pigs with them, and they released the pigs on the coast because when they came back they'd have food because they knew the pig was going to live. The pig was going to survive. You could bring cows and turn them loose, and they might live or they might not, but the pig was going to live, and the pig was going to reproduce. They reproduce like rabbits, and they'll eat just about anything. They're about like goats. If you want to clear some land, fence it off, put some pigs in it. They'll clear it for you.
Well, they'll have it ready for farming.
Just about.
Till it.
Well, buddy, I feel like we have had a good conversation tonight. How about you?
I do.
The whole point in this.
Bits from each other, and maybe there's if you ever want to learn some things from my perspective on trophy hunting and what we do, and some very pointed things I've learned over the years that tricks of our trade. Sure.
Well, I'm gonna give you a few minutes and just let you talk about it just a little bit, and that can be your closing statement, and we're gonna call it a day. But Josh and I have been talking about doing a podcast. It's called Common Ground, and that's where he and I would come in and talk about subjects, and we try and find common ground on it. And I told him, I said we could actually do one time where we bring some couple people on like you or whatever, and we draw out of the hat if we were going to be for or against it, me or him. And if I might be in a situation where I had to be the person that was against hunting with dogs or being for hunting with dogs, I think that would make good debate and good conversation. So go ahead. You got the floor. I'm gonna mute my microphone. Tell me about trophy hunting. Tell me why you like it. Sell it to me. Make me want to do it.
First of all, it was kind of a growing up in hunting, and you could only kill so many deer before your goals change and things like that. And like you said, you're sitting in your stand and you had deer that you wouldn't shoot. Well, and eventually your goals change into land management and all the work that goes into setting the trap for that deer. And the day you show up to take him, and you make sure you do everything right so that you give the animal his due, you know. And then it's really splitting hairs on that's where trail cameras come in, and they're very important. Is that you've studied every inch of that deer before you shoot him. There's no question about. You usually don't mess it up so much for breaking rules accidentally and things like that. You get the age right, you get the size right, all the things, and he's one that you want to kill anyway. And it's a lot more involved than you might think because where we're at, we have to have spin style feeders. Everybody, it leveled the playing field. You know, we didn't have one guy that was paying somebody to come pour extra corn at their stuff and things on the ground all week or whatever. So everybody gets 15 seconds in the morning and 15 seconds in the evening, and that's what you get. And you got to work with that. And when you using feeders, you got to be very careful. Corn piles are the same way, but not as bad. When you shoot a deer under a spin style feeder, he's going to be there with 10 of his buddies. And when you shoot him, you're gonna lucky if you see another deer on your camera, trail camera, for 30 days. They gone. They already figured it out. And on top of that, um, we gotta have hog panels, big pens around the feeder, and it took 20. It takes just to get them to use spin style feeders. It takes 4 years. They don't. The does will take to it pretty quick, but you're not gonna see a buck there. The does train the fawns, and it takes 4 years before the magic happens. So there's a lot more to it than just you sitting in a stand and shooting a deer, and they make it sound like it's so easy. It's not. It took all the prep work to get there. And I have a friend of mine who just telling me just keep it on the light side of things too. Is that the way to mess up a deer club is to have either dog hunters or bow hunters. When the dog hunters, the problems with that. But then the bow hunters is they're always getting busted by the deer. They're right on top of them. They can have no entry, exit to the stand, all those things, especially if they're trophy hunting. So it's really hard. That's what makes it so challenging for bow hunters. But with us, with a rifle, I can get it in and out of the stand without the deer ever knowing I was there from 150 yards away. And you can keep pressure down that way. But when you crack one, you better have more stands to go to and let that one recover for, you know. And a couple other things I had in mind I wanted to say too is, I could tick some still hunters off too. South Carolina season opens August 15th. It don't end until January 1st. And some counties is September 1st. It's too long. The season's too long. August 15th is 95 degrees outside. Maybe we could break it up. Maybe we could have 2 weeks, 10 days, or something, so people could have their opportunity to shoot a velvet buck and then close it and open it October 1st or something, and then maybe we could break it up between still hunters and dog hunters. I don't know. There's enough room and distance there and time that we could make everybody mostly happy, because you'll never make everybody happy. Pissing people off is a piece of cake.
You're exactly right. Making somebody mad is easy.
Yeah,
So
it's super easy.
North Carolina season's going to start about September 12th, and it's going to be primitive weapons. It's going to be bow and arrow only, and crossbow in September. I'm not going to hunt. It's too hot. I don't want to be out there fighting ticks and yellow flies and mosquitoes, and I'm just not going to do it. I might go once. I'm probably not going to really get into my hunting until mid-October, November. I like to be able to see my breath when I go hunting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I think that's why South Carolina with the WMAs. I saw one of your podcasts. They were kind of complaining about the amount of days they had, but they had it broken up by all the different weapons and things like that up front. And at the end of the season, when it's cold, is when they got their dog days mostly. It kind of makes sense. Um, the other part that we didn't discuss with that is that a lot of roads in the WMAs have been shut down. They cut them off to foot travel and bicycle travel only, because the state's budget, they got a budget like everybody else, and they don't have so much for road maintenance. And that's how that evolved over time. I watched it happen. You know.
interesting thing about budgets. You mentioned that we're both veterans. The VA is always running short on their budget too. And every time I go in and they tell me something about this or that, well, we've got this budgetary constraint and this, that, and the other. I just go ahead and remind them. I said, there's never enough money to take care of the veterans, but there's always enough money to make more of us. You're making more of them every day right now. So
you've seen the latest take care of veterans thing, right? Where they want to rob Peter to pay Paul.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, brother,
Yes,
thank you
sir.
for coming on. Thank you for sharing some information with me. Watch that training video. Stick around. You'll like stuff on there. Send me some pictures. We'll put them up on the page. You can tell us
Yeah,
about
if
your
you
day.
want me to come on with you and Josh and those guys sometime, and I think about I got nothing. I'm retired now, so I got nothing but time to think about things these days. So, and I got nothing better to do. If you want me to come back, I'll come back.
Sure thing. And that's the
Yes,
that's
sir.
the way that that's the way that hunters are going to learn to get along. You cannot establish a conversation when all you're going to do is fuss and fight with each other.
Yes,
You,
sir.
you got to find common ground to talk to each other. And most people, from what I'm finding, most people are very reasonable. There's a few outliers that are just absolute horses' heads. We'll put it like that. You can figure out what that really means. But there's a few that are that. But most people are really reasonable. And if you'll have a reasonable conversation with them, you find out you get along and you got a lot in common. And then there's some that wouldn't be happy. My daddy used to say there's people that wouldn't be happy if you hung them with a new rope.
And the dumb ones that couldn't find a butt of both hands in their back pocket.
Yep, there's plenty of them too. But most people are reasonable, and I appreciate you being reasonable. I appreciate you coming on and talking with me. I feel like we've had a really good conversation. I feel like I've learned a little bit. I think you've learned a little bit, and we'll see where it goes, Joe.
Yes, sir.
You have a great one, and I'm going to end it here.
Yes, sir. Good night.